And our next speaker is truly a pioneer in workplace consultancy, transforming the focus on people and experience since the 1980s. With over 40 years shaping workplaces for global corporates and visionary developments, she now advises Cushman Wakefield clients on the evolving nature of work and aligning real estate with well-being, ESG and business goals. A former president of the British Council of Officers, she lectures globally, sits on advisory boards and hosts the Purpose of Place podcast, which I would highly recommend. It's a wonderful podcast. Please welcome Despina Katsikakis.
Thank you. I have to do this slowly. I've just had a knee replacement. Sorry, everyone. Good morning. It's great to be back in Sydney. I'm so excited that my trip coincided with this conference, and I have the opportunity to share some of these findings that we've been doing with CoreNet with all of you today. What was not mentioned is we're not going to have time for Q&A because I'm going to run through this very quickly, but do come and find me at lunch if you have any questions, anything you want to talk about regarding what I'm going to share. So I'm going to take you through the findings of our biannual What Occupiers Want survey. Some of you might well have contributed to this, so thank you if you have. We do this survey every 2 years with CoreNet, and this year's survey actually involved over 235 corporate real estate executives from around the world who represent over 8 million people and over 340 million square feet. So it's a really big data set. What you will see on the far left side, if I can find the pointer, is that 52% of the companies that are represented are actually headquartered in North America, but they are, for the most part, global companies, so they operate across all 3 regions. Now, we like to compare what the priorities are of these decision makers every couple of years and see what's changing. And I'm going to give you the kind of high-level findings on this first slide and dive a little deeper on each one. First, not surprising, costs remains a fundamental priority. But within that, the real issue that's making people, I think, hesitate to make decisions is uncertainty. Uncertainty around a whole host of issues, which we'll go into. What's also very interesting, though, is that while cost is driving the agenda, corporate real estate models and organizational models are evolving, and therefore the metrics that will demonstrate the value of real estate are also evolving. And of course, not surprising, what's driving that evolution is flexibility. I think we heard from Christina earlier, and by the way, I love the fact that Greek women are dominating this morning. Just saying, you know, get it in there, right? Is that flexibility and autonomy is a real primary driver, and that's coming through for a whole host of reasons, which I'll share with you. Good news for anyone in the real estate world, downsizing seems to have peaked around the world. Companies have pretty much shed all the space they were going to reduce and are now looking at new ways to actually reimagine their spaces. And to do that, they are looking to their landlords to actually step up and help them create a whole host of new experiences. So let's unpack that a little bit and look at what the real issues are. On the top of this slide, what you see is 3 primary drivers for change, and they're cost, talent, and operational excellence. What's interesting about those 3 is that every couple of years when we do this survey, they sort of shift in priority. So the last 2 surveys, talent was the top one, followed by cost and operational excellence. And there's always this tug of war between cost and talent, and how do we balance those 2? I mentioned that cost is still driving it, particularly because there is this massive uncertainty in the marketplace. Uncertainty in terms of the role of the office, in-office policies, and I'm just going to have to pause there for a second because I have been staggered by all the return to office noise I'm hearing in Australia. This is the place that actually created innovative work environments. So what's happening? How come people are going backwards? This is something I'd love to hear more from any of you that want to find me at lunchtime, because I think it's a real significant issue for the market. So flexibility continues to be key and really drives innovation and engagement, as we heard from Christina earlier as well. So what's changed that's really going to impact these decisions? What's changed in 2 years is that nearly 30% of corporate real estate executives in the last 2 years have shifted their operating reporting lines from finance to people and HR functions. That shift is actually completely transforming the pressures they face on the skills they need to do their job well and on the metrics they need to deliver an impact. And what we're seeing is that real estate metrics have not adapted at that same speed. So this emphasis on cost, and I don't know if you can see the pointer, but financial metrics, which top the list, tend to be seen as the most important, but actually often are really driven by what I would call quite simple metrics of space, cost, utilization, which have the least impact on the business. And the really significant metrics of engagement and retention, experience, workflow effectiveness, technology integration still remain qualitative. We still don't have robust enough metrics to be able to make the business case to the finance directors and to the business. And the transformation that I'm seeing from many of our global clients is that, again, within the last 2 years, most of the work that we have been doing is actually to create tangible metrics around, and I'm going to use that ROI term, which after what Christina said, I probably won't use again. But it is a really important piece. How do you show the return on investment of real estate to the part of the business that matters most, which is the engagement of people, the inspiration of people, innovation, workflow, effectiveness, and performance. And I think we're going to see these metrics completely shift from that 81% being financial metrics to a real shift towards experience and workflow particularly. What's driving that change? Well, if we're seeing real estate report into HR, suddenly real estate is actually mapping to the talent life cycle. And the talent life cycle means you need to, first of all, figure out where you're going to find the talent in the future. What skills will you be looking for in the future? And how do you tap into that talent? So whilst we have some of those noise elements of return to office discourse, it begin to impact the landscape of work, the real big issue is, is how, if I keep doing that, this is my jet lag, sorry. It's how AI talent is going to be the place that people concentrate in. And with AI talent, we're seeing this really interesting issue around lifestyle and innovation. These are people that demand quality of life, ability to innovate more effectively, and companies are going to them. And that's redrawing the map of where real estate decisions are made. I mentioned some of those politics, policy issues, ESG, that are also driving some of those decisions, and certainly some of the geopolitical changes in the last few years. We've certainly seen drive nearshoring as a real shift for some global occupiers. But the big, big story is that when we look at actual hiring strategies, over 60% of organizations are actually now implementing flexible location recruitment strategies. So for the first time last year, Meta and Microsoft in the US started advertising all of their top roles as being completely location agnostic. That hasn't happened ever before. This shift to flexibility really is underpinning how portfolios are going to shift to move to places that create those conditions for success. And that hybrid country-level strategy is impacting the overall global strategy for organizations. So this is a very, very exciting moment. It is the workforce that's driving the real estate, not lease expiries or cost. So we have this incredible tension between the two. And of course, underpinning that is what is the purpose of the office? Some of you might know we have a lot of data through our experience per square foot database. We have over 12 million data points. And it tells us that collaboration, meaningful collaboration, building relationships, building social networks, actually making connections with people is the most important reason for the office. I loved what Christina showed about Zappos. I've been to Zappos also. I think it's absolutely amazing how they've reimagined connection. Because no matter how much we think that flexibility is king and it's here to stay, people want both. 95% of people want autonomy of when they work, and 85% of people want flexibility of where they work. But they want to come into the office intentionally to do the things that matter, to be with people, to make those human connections. And surprisingly, the office only supports less than 60% of those people, because over 40% say the office is not fit for purpose. It's not doing the things I needed to do. So no surprise that we have underutilization. So I said that we've seen downsizing actually reach pretty much a plateau around the world. And with it, what's happening is that many of our clients are saying, we need to focus on the things that matter. But that means we need to have new types of environments for collaboration, for learning, new types of curation. We don't necessarily want all these to be within our demise. We don't necessarily need to pay for this all of the time. But 85% of them are saying that they expect their landlord to actually provide more. It's no longer a B2B relationship between the landlord and the occupier. It is a relationship between the landlord and the end customer, and the end customer is the employee. So being able to personalize, customize, iterate experiences will become key. 46% of them are willing to pay a higher service charge, and the remaining actually want it on demand and want to pay for it for when it's available to them. So it's a very big challenge for landlords because the demand is out there. And we're seeing, I was speaking at the AFR conference on Monday, and we're seeing this shift to sort of super prime space that begins to do a whole load of different results for the business. But we come back to what's the challenge for us as an industry? The challenge is that we need to move from measuring outdated items. We need to actually enable real estate to demonstrate the value that it brings to the business as a whole. And that means as an industry, we need new skills, We need new metrics. We need to do this collectively. I know I said some of our clients are already doing that, but this is an inflection point for us as corporate real estate leaders. We need to step into this new place that recognizes that the office of the future and the value of the office is around how it empowers people to do their best work, to be inspired, to innovate, to leave work feeling better than when they arrived. How do we calculate the impact of that on the individuals, on their engagement with the business, on society as a whole? The opportunity is immense for us as an industry, and it is now the time for us to step up and take that opportunity. Now you'll see a QR code on the slide, and you can download the whole report, and I've got 1 minute left, so I don't know if I can take one question. I can take one question. There you go. Anyone has one question? Yes. Okay, so let me flip the question the other way around. What gets in the way, or what does the metric require, right? Because I think that's the real challenge. Because the metrics that we're looking for the business cannot come straight out of real estate. So I just mentioned well-being, feeling better than when you leave than when you arrive, right? That requires you to collaborate with HR to look at retention, to look at absenteeism data, to map that data against experience within the office, and to look at that convergence of the data sets. To look at workflow, you cannot, if I'm asked one more time about productivity and not scream about it, because we're measuring productivity with people sitting at their desk. It is, an 18th century model, not even 19th century, right? Productivity is about workflow, and workflow is not the same across the organization. So you need to map the workflow with the business and then measure the impact that you're making on the workflow before and after. So it's not easy, but it is absolutely essential, because real estate does actually engender culture, drive behavior, and make an impact to the whole business. So we need to step into that difficult place and actually fail, like Christina said, but actually move forward and go for that moonshot. So thank you very much.